Illustrating Vader's World. What is up? It's your friend Matt, and I am back. Oh my gosh, it has been so long since I've done the You Can Draw Star Wars videos, and this, this isn't going to be like those. Those videos were awesome. They were super cool, fun to do. They were kind of highly polished, produced with the music and the editing and the gags and the skits and everything. Those were really done for more of a wide audience for StarWars.com originally, before they were released on DVDs. But I wanted to do something a little off the cuff, something where I'm really just showing you how I put everything together, and I wanted to give you my candid thoughts on doing it. So for those of you that are really into seeing behind the scenes how I really put all of this stuff together, you're in luck, because right now me and Boba Fett here apparently are going to invite you into my studio. So before we even get started, let me show you my space. And it's a little messy right now, not gonna lie. There is kind of stuff all over the place. Since the You Can Draw Star Wars videos, oh my gosh, you can see here, this is a bunch of the shirts that I've done for bands and Star Wars and all the things. But since then, I've been working on the ALADDIN 3477 films. So there are just props and artwork and concept design. And of course, Star Wars is everywhere, and Star Wars, my first love. I just can't quit you, Star Wars. So you'll see that all over the place. Here are the R7 series droids from Hasbro. I am collecting them all because I was the first artist to illustrate the R7 droid. I'm going to have a video on that coming soon. So back here in this back section here, as we kind of cruise along, you'll see I have a bunch of the Gentle Giant mini busts. I collect a lot of those. A bunch of them were broken in a freak accident that I'll have to share one day. But these are some of the posters and art prints that I've done over the years. These are some of the custom art toys that I've done. And Watto here keeps inventory of my color pencils. And this is my workspace. This is where I work. And you'll see over to the left here, this is my drawing space. Hanging out with Battle Droid and both adult Yoda and baby Yoda, Grogu, of course. And this is where I create. This is where the magic happens, if you will. So I can't wait to share all about it, but I wanted to just kind of show you my working space. I love having Yoda next to me because I feel like Yoda is full of wisdom, and while I'm creating art, he gives me wisdom from the ancient order of the Jedi Knights. Of course, now baby Yoda, faithfully at his side. What I have next to my drawing desk, obviously you can see I've got like these mugs filled with micron pens and all kinds of markers and paint supplies. But I love to I've got these shelves that are just filled with toys and action figures. Some of these items are toys that I grew up with, things that either I still saved or my mom saved, or there's things that I gave to my brother that my brother gave back to me that obviously has sentimental value, and just some toys that I've collected over the years, things that I think are really cool. And I think it's smart to have those things next to your drawing desk. It keeps you young, and it keeps you having that sense of wonderment that we all grew up with, and that's kind of what we're all trying to do as artists. Speaking of which, oh my gosh, it's my 30th anniversary of producing official Star Wars art for the books, the posters, oh my gosh, packaging, apparel, trading cards, all of that. But I think the technique that people resonate the most with is that movie poster style that has kind of the textured paint with the color pencils on top. Most people are familiar with Drew Struzan, who's probably the most well-known of the poster artists. That style isn't entirely Drew Struzan's, though. A lot of that was kind of created with a lot of other movie poster artists, including Richard Amzell, John Alvin a little bit, and it's just a really good technique that I'm going to share with you. So we're diving in, and this here is a look at the reference that I kind of compiled for all of this. And some of this was just images you can see ripped out of magazines and cut out of books. Some of this, like this right here with Vader, this was a composite that I put together because I really wanted to be particular about how the ships were overlapping Vader. So there is some of that I'll do a little bit ahead of time, but I'm going to show you right now. Let's dive in how it all goes together. Are you ready? Let's do this. So I start on an illustration board. The one thing I don't have here is not every time I do this technique, but I do, you can kind of see here, there's this texture, and that is gesso. I do have another video coming up showing how to use that. I didn't record it here. One of the reasons I didn't record it is because gesso is white and you're usually painting it on a white surface. So it's kind of, I assume it's probably hard to see on video. I did film one though, and so that is in the can coming soon. Now you'll notice here, originally this was kind of the idea. I was thinking about doing kind of a larger than life image, but it just didn't have enough in it. So this was my first attempt. For some reason, that's just what I was thinking. And then it needed to have not just another head, but kind of a full body or close to a full body character there with Boba Fett. And of course, adding in some more ships. And the Death Star is interesting, but I think the one for Jedi, where it's kind of broken up like that, is really cool. You'll see here I have a Boba Fett 1/6 scale statue from Kodo Bukaya, and those are helpful. I don't like to use them as complete reference because then, even though they're really good in terms of their accuracy and the shapes, but if you're using a toy as complete reference, then it looks like a toy still. It looks like a really good toy, but if you want things to look like the characters and the actual costumes, then illustrating the actual, again, the mini busts and everything, it's just going to look like a mini bust, as accurate and awesome as they are. So I usually try to use photo reference. What you'll notice here in the background, you'll notice a couple areas where I used color pencils to illustrate. And one of the reasons for that is something I'm going to get into a little bit later with what I had underneath. And that was something that was planned out well ahead of time. Now here you'll see I'm using a color pencil. Again, the reason why, you're doing a drawing underneath that is going to be shown through, and you're going to see some of the underdrawing, because a lot of what we're doing is painting washes. Washes are transparent. It's where you mix the paint with water, and you can transparently see the board in any drawing that you did underneath. So for that reason, if you're drawing with, it's a TWAP, if you're drawing with a pencil, which is technically silver, but it's dark, it's almost black, as you can see the lines on the side of Luke Skywalker's head here. That was drawn with graphite, a lead holder with, I think, a 2B lead, I think. It's silver, but I mean, it may as well be black. It's really dark, which is a good thing. Again, I don't know why. I think because this is the episode where I'm showing you my studio, I wanted to just do these intercut so that the images isn't always boring. I just wanted to show some of the goofy stuff I have in my studio. But back to what I'm drawing here, why I'm using the hot pink pencil. If I were to use black, then it would be this really dark drawing underneath, and I kind of had it in my head that I wanted Luke Skywalker to be in kind of this, kind of fading in through the sky through a really cool sunset. So it just made more sense to draw it with that hot pink color pencil. There's Kip. Believe it or not, Kip is named after a Star Wars character. And no, I did not name Kip. Kip, I think, was 2 years old when I first met Kip, but he's named after Kip Duron, he was one of the Jedi that helped Luke Skywalker build the new Jedi Order. Now, jumping ahead here, what this video is going to do, it's going to show you everything done up to the actual color painting process. So after drawing everything in with pencil, next is my darkest darks. And usually I do all the pencil work first and then the darks. You may have noticed in some of the shots where I was drawing Boba Fett, for example, you may have noticed I already had some black paint down. And that was because when I did this, I was on a really tight schedule. I really had to jam this out quickly, not just for when my clients needed this, but for when just all this other stuff that I have going on. Ever faithful Kip. Sometimes I'm standing when I do the painting, and sometimes I'm sitting down. I think I might have been sitting down when I was actually doing this stage here. Full disclosure for how this is all edited together, since you want the real juice. But after putting in my darkest darks, whether I do that during the drawing process or whether I do it after, you start laying in what's called washes. Now, do I always start with black? Not necessarily, and this video isn't going to cover the washes, but the reason why I'm leaving it in here is because you don't, at least for me and the technique that works the best for me, you don't want to do your black washes everywhere. Now, there are some artists that do this. How they do this and make it work for them, I have no idea. I know Alex Ross puts black washes everywhere. He essentially does a full grayscale wash painting first, everywhere, all over faces and everything. Then I think he kind of just sprays in the color really quick, and then the color just kind of goes on top of everything, but the values are already there. To me, when you do that, and this is not me knocking Alex Ross, because whatever he's doing, I don't know how he makes his look good, but he does. For me, though, what I've noticed is when you put a black wash on someone's face, for example, and then you try putting color on top, anywhere where you have a black wash or that it essentially turns into grays because it's transparent, if you do that in someone's face or sometimes certain types of clothing, it really starts to look muddy. And I think it's because black is essentially all colors mixed together, and it just gives this, it just looks like soot. Everything looks dirty, or it can look like 5 o'clock shadow. So if you're painting the side of a woman's face and you don't want to make it look like she's got 5 o'clock shadow and it's starting to get a little bristly there, you definitely don't want to use black washes. So the areas that I will use is like these, the ships around Darth Vader and obviously the Death Star, because that's kind of like this off-white armor that just looks dirty, and it's, you know, microscopic space debris it's always coming into contact with. And Star Wars is so cool because it's like that used, lived-in universe. So everything is kind of like steel gray, and maybe not as dark as a gunmetal gray, but it just looks used, and it looks like it's a real world functional device or vehicle. And then obviously for Darth Vader's helmet, because it's essentially all straight black and there's just some really nice juicy reflections, I'm painting those in now with black washes. Although there is going to be a lot more color infused into Darth Vader's face eventually, so I'll be chatting about that soon. So you'll notice there is a little bit of the texture. You see it a little bit more when the washes are wet. The textures, or the washes, don't have as much texture at first. The way that they dry, they're pretty flat, which is probably a good thing. You don't see as much of the texture until you add in the airbrush. If you're using the airbrush, I don't always use airbrush, but for this piece I did. And then you'll notice it, especially when you're adding the color pencils, the way that the color pencils graze over that gesso texture works really, really well. And the washes go in layers. So you'll notice here, I already had a dark wash down, but some of these areas I want to go even darker. So I'm just adding in those washes where appropriate. And I can't wait. This is just kind of, I know most people want to get to the painting and that part of the process, so that is going to begin in the next video. But this is kind of where everything starts, and this is, at this point, everything is foundation. We haven't really gotten to anything stylistic yet. It's just any kind of contrast rendering. I've got my darkest darks in there, and everything is kind of mapped out. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how I kind of chose my colors, how I planned everything out, and then we are going to get started with those color washes. Can't wait to do that. By the way, I should probably mention too, I'll show you in the next video how I mix the washes, but essentially that's just paint, or in this case, it's black gesso. I use white gesso for putting down my white surface, but I also use white gesso for if I'm painting white opaquely for anything or creating a white wash, and same for black. I like to use black gesso because it has a better consistency to it. So we started here with the drawing. You saw how I added in Boba Fett, and then from here it's painting in the darkest darks and really locking them in. Already Darth Vader looks pretty rendered. From here, though, we are going to add in washes, as I mentioned in the next video. You're going to see how I chose those colors, the airbrush, the opaque painting on top, then with color pencils. So I can't wait to share more of this process with you. Oh my gosh, it feels so good to be back drawing Star Wars on YouTube, hanging out with you guys. If you guys like this video, you should be liking it. If you aren't subscribed already, please do that and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of these videos. As well, you should be leaving me comments down below. Let me know what you want to see in these videos. Do you want to see how I'm using the projector? Do you want to see how I'm doing, how I added the gesso to get that texture on there? Let me know. Also, you should share. You can check out more of my You Can Draw Star Wars videos. Plus, I have videos called Matt's Class that has really cool, just all kinds of videos doing everything that I think you'll really dig. There's, of course, the sketchbook challenge, and I also teach classes. You can take classes. Some classes are online. A lot of them are hybrid, so you have to live in the area. But creative imaging and illustration is in the Media and Communication Arts Department at Macomb College. I also have a property called Hollywood is Dead, zombified movie posters, but the biggest thing of which, ALADDIN 3477, coming out soon. So be on the lookout for that. I can't wait for you guys to see the first of the trilogy. All right, be good, and may the Force be with you.